Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High Tech, Low Life, High Energy, Low Results podcast with your hosts, Eric and Josh. I'm Eric.
And I am Josh.
Yeah, we are, we have not recorded in a while because we had a couple of them banked, so we're knocking the rust off.
Yeah, we got unexpectedly ahead with just some weird scheduling stuff. So, yeah, it's been a while.
But this one is super fresh because it's coming out like tomorrow night. So
Yep. We both had some shit going on and got delayed in our recording. So we'll see you in approximately 28 hours.
Yeah, about that. This week we are covering the book.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's called.
Halting State.
Correct. By Charles Stross.
And I've got some things to say about it right off the bat, but I'll save it until we get into it.
Okay, well, that sounds wonderful.
That's kind of what we do.
You want to do some dystopia talk first?
Oh my God. So since this is fresh, we can actually talk about, like, our last couple episodes weren't, like modern, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Modern,
yeah.
Up to date. So we can actually talk about real dystopia. And I feel like there's been so much since we were last talking about it that it's overwhelming.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, listening to those episodes, and I did listen to I think I listened to both the Blade Runner ones. I definitely listened to the second one.
Well, as someone whose sole job it is to consume all Blade Runner media on the internet, since you then made media, you then had to consume that media.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's kind of an Ouroboros,
Yes.
A guy sucking himself off. I got some ribs removed. I don't know.
No, you really went for it.
That's my dedication.
Yeah.
A thing I noticed when I was listening to it, because as per usual, I forget nearly everything that happens when we've hit record.
Sure.
Like the instant.
I think all podcasters
stops.
do.
Yeah. And I was listening to that episode and thought, we did a very little bit of dystopia talk, but even recording nearly 3 weeks out as we did for that one, we were on the money,
Oh, yeah.
Ethnic cleansing continues. Cybertruck's still dumb.
Yeah. Everything we talked about is still happening. So it was evergreen dystopia talk, which is perhaps the most dystopian thing of all.
It is hateful.
Are the protests still happening? Pretty sure they are, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're just not in the news as much because we collectively moved on, I guess.
I mean, this past weekend, there was quite a bit of, people leaving their graduation ceremonies because, that type of thing. I went out, it was Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night. I went out with a couple of my friends and we took some water to the encampment at my former university. Mm-hmm. And the kids seemed in high spirits.
That's good.
So, yeah.
I can imagine being that age and caring about the world.
Yeah.
I am proud of them.
Yeah, good for them, man.
Yeah. All I cared about was what the guy driving around with his windows down was listening to, and if we should kick their ass or not for listening to the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Seemed cool at the time. In retrospect, less so.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, so yeah, that's still happening, and they're still getting their heads crushed by cops because that's what cops do.
Cops are shooting themselves in the face with pepper spray. It's a pretty good time.
And then requesting ambulances because apparently, what's an ambulance ride for them? Someone else can sit in a holding cell all night, experience whatever. Fuck cops, we know that. The Met Gala happened. That was pretty fucking dystopian.
It kind of always is. Yeah.
It was particularly weird this year because like shit was popping off in Palestine and like
a lot of that coincided.
Like I was on TikTok a lot that night, and like as social media goes, and I know it's all influenced by the algorithms, and one person's TikTok feed will look completely different from another's, but mine was nothing but eat the rich and free Palestine and some mixture of those two in some cases. Which was refreshing, I guess, but it's all just kind of, choir preaching.
I don't remember what I was doing that night. Maybe it was playing party games. On Discord. I found that to be a great relief.
I might have popped in for that. Who knows?
That might have been that. I don't remember.
But it's
or I could have been watching Blade Runner for the 180th time.
Yeah. You still watching it?
No, I've gone cold turkey.
Okay.
Feeling good about myself.
Got through the withdrawals?
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
It's a hard monkey to get off your back. Let's sidle on into recommendos because I really don't have anything. I finally watched Fallout, like has been mentioned on like the last 4 episodes of this, so I don't feel like it needs to go again. I agree with everything everybody said. It was good.
Yeah, I like
one thumb up because 2 would be inappropriate. I'm sure that joke's been made a million times too.
Fun. Good show. Let's see. I have watched, being that it's been like 3 weeks, quite a bit. So I'm just going to pop through a couple of things real fucking rapidly.
Okay.
I watched Love Lies Bleeding, which is a movie with Kristen Stewart that came out like a couple of months ago. It is a lesbian crime drama in the 80s around competitive bodybuilding.
Cool.
It is fucking great.
Okay.
Like, highly recommend it.
I like Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, it's a real fucking sweaty and grimy movie. And I mean that in the most positive way.
All right.
Let's see. I also watched my the only cooking shows that I give even the slightest shit about is back, which this season is called Selena Plus Restaurant.
Okay.
The Selena Gomez cooking show. So that's back. Highly recommend it. I do remember very specifically something I wanted to mention, not in long form because I don't want to make Sean sad. And also shout out to Sean and his cat Orion. They're pretty rough time recently.
Yeah, if for some fucking reason you've been listening to this podcast and following us on social media and thought one day I'll get around to looking at Sean Faust's music and maybe buying a record on Bandcamp, this would be the time to do that.
Yeah, it would be a really good time to do that. Yeah.
He's a great friend of ours and he could use it.
Yeah, really could. So I watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Oh, God.
And once again, as I said on, I think, Twitter, and maybe somewhere else, once again, Bustin made me feel bad.
Yeah, you think that was just on a text to me, actually.
Oh, it might have been, yeah. It's not a good movie, guys. Not good.
I don't think anybody was claiming it was, though, Josh, to be fair.
Also, not an entertaining movie.
Is it a movie?
It meets many of the requirements to be a movie.
So it's got New Rose Hotel beat.
Yeah, it's... okay, there is more than, say, 1 hour and 25 minutes worth of footage, but yet less than 4 hours of footage. That's kind of a container. You get over 4 hours and you kind of, then it turns into something else.
Yeah.
It's moving pictures. There's even dialogue, so it's a talkie.
I'm guessing there's a score.
There is a score. There's a lot. There's more than
Meets the Eye? No, that's different.
Was it Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I don't know.
The most recent one that wasn't this. There's more of the hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? To it.
That's the best thing in movies when they do that.
Yeah, it's like
that's why Fallout's so good, because they did it constantly.
Yeah. It was Demi Adejuyigbe did the song for Ready Player One.
Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember any details, but I remember liking it.
Yeah. There's a lot of, hey, remember this? Like, it went so far as to play chunks of the commercials for the Ghostbusters toys that aired when we were children on TV.
Cool.
So that was great. Also, it did a really interesting thing to the franchise as a whole. Okay, so you know who the mayor in this most recent movie is, Frozen Empire of New York?
No.
William Atherton. You know where you know William Atherton from?
Where?
He's the EPA guy who has
That's
no
what
dick.
I thought.
In
okay,
the first
I was going to guess that, but is the same character then?
Same character. And the fun thing is, the entire plot of this movie is predicated on William Atherton in the first movie was right. They should not have been locking a bunch of radioactive fucking spirits into an unlicensed containment chamber in the middle of Manhattan.
Well, he was proven to be right in the first movie. He was just an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, becoming an adult is realizing that he was the smart one all along.
Yeah, this definitely endorses him being the smart one, although he is still treated as a idiot and a prick.
Yeah. Well, people could be nuanced.
And also, I found when I was reading the IMDb trivia, a sentence that I found incredibly hateful to my sense of well-being in the world. So, apparently, Ghostbusters Afterlife was the end. This is according to Jason Reitman, who directed Ghostbusters Afterlife and is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed Ghostbusters. He said, Afterlife was the end of the Gozerian saga. Apparently, all of that Ghostbusters leading up to 2015, 2020, or whenever that was all the Gozerian saga. And it was the story of the Spenglers versus Gozer somehow. Minus the second movie.
Hey, Josh, do me a favor and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is the worst thing I've heard from your mouth.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
I don't even want to comment on it.
I can't. That's why I had to bring it.
You had to inflict it upon us.
Yeah, it dissipates if I spread it about the world.
Okay, it just means all of us have a little bit of agony instead of you having all of it, which I think it would have been more noble if you'd have just...
I am not a noble man. I have a podcast, for God's sake.
That's true. You give up all that when you sign up for whatever host you sign up with. You got any more? Or are we going to press on?
No, I think that's good. If anything else pops up, I can just go back to it.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, and Dan Aykroyd is in fact Neil Diamond now somehow?
Oh, yeah, you were sending me pictures of that, and that's pretty funny. He really did look like Neil Diamond.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I'm glad they got paid. So anyway, this week we're talking about Halting State by Charles Stross.
Came out in 2007.
It's a book, by the way.
It is a novel.
It's a novel. I gotta be honest, didn't love it.
Okay.
Didn't care for it that much.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I liked it.
Maybe it's because it's heavily about online gaming, and that's kind of been my thing, and it didn't feel like any online gaming that would ever exist or has ever existed.
Okay.
Like, it felt like a guy that definitely read the Wikipedia about MMORPGs, but never actually was there.
Okay.
Which maybe he was. I don't know.
I don't know that he... I don't know that he did much or any more pigs. But
it's not even just more pigs.
Yeah.
It's just video games. And that's honestly, I could have got past that if the story had been particularly interesting to me. It just wasn't. I don't know.
No.
I probably would have bailed on it if we'd not been doing it for this show.
Okay. Well, good job sticking it out. I understand there was a terrible fake Scottish accent.
That is another. That's true. I did not like my narrator of my audiobook, and this was a legally obtained audiobook, as are all of them.
Everything that we do on this show is entirely legally obtained.
Everything is, except this one actually was.
This was especially legally obtained
from Audible, and it was. I don't know. What was being described to me in the words?
I really wish you would just stop with what?
The things that were being described to me in the text were not what was coming across in the voices. Like characters that were described as like handsome, like I can't remember the character's name. The spooks guy. They're like contact.
Michaels?
Sure.
Yeah.
He was described as like kind of good looking and put together, but the dude was voicing him like a weird old man. And there was a lot of that. And the Scottish accent was not good. And yes, I guess that's not really the book's fault, but it did hamper my enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
Also didn't like the second person.
Yeah, that's I had completely forgotten that this book did that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Until you, because I hadn't started it until after you did. And yeah, it's been a long time since I read it. And yeah, I had totally forgotten. Sorry for dropping that on you with no warning.
No, it's fine. I just, that type of thing, once again, is much easier to digest reading than hearing somebody saying, you feel this way and you do that. And I'm like, I do not, man, in my ears, shut up.
Yeah.
But I got used to it, and it wasn't a deal breaker or anything, but it was weird at first. Anyway, yeah, what you talk about it now.
Okay. Well, I like this book. I think it is a really good attempt at a genre I'm just going to make up right now called Crimes of the Future.
Okay.
Because that's what it is. This book is imagining, a couple of years on what will be a crime that is not a crime right now and can't be, just doesn't exist, right?
Right, but it's very much from a 2007 perspective.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's part of my problem, because 2007 doesn't feel like that long ago, but technology really has changed quite a bit.
Has it?
I mean, when I read this book, I certainly felt like it had. They were using basically smartphones, but the iPhone it hadn't even come out yet, had it?
I think that was about 2007, 2008.
Like maybe he'd read that it was coming out and kind of read the tea leaves, which if so.
Well, and he was, the author has been was a tech writer for a really long time and has had like Palms and Blackberries and he had, I don't know, I'm sure he had the fucking, whatever that first Apple PDA in like 1992 was.
Oh God, yeah.
The Newton.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he knew it was coming.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just I can't remember any specifics. Maybe I will once you are recapping. But I remember feeling like this is a very 2007 thought of what time does the book take place? Does it ever say?
I don't think it ever says I don't know, he might have said it in some interview or something. I want to say like 2021 or something like that. Like the
makes sense.
Near future, now past.
Yeah. I am looking up when the first iPhone came out because somebody's screaming at their device. June 29th, 2007. When did this book come out?
I do not know.
Yeah. Right around the same time. So,
yeah.
Oh, $499. What a steal.
What a steal.
Yeah, future crimes. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's also just in general it's of a genre that you call a techno thriller, which I don't know how familiar with that genre you or our audience are.
This is the first book I've ever read, so...
Okay, yeah, good point. You did just learn to read for this.
No, I mean, it was an audiobook, but the audiobook did say the letters in a Scottish accent, and I had to put them together. So
okay, yeah, fair enough.
It's a weird audiobook. Audible, fix that.
Yeah, it needs to be said as words.
Yes.
Not spelled out. Except for abbreviation, but look, that's an edge case.
Yes.
So yeah, it's basically at its heart, it uses this crimes of the future thing to get to, what's an infrastructure like? What does infrastructure look like, and what are the ways this can fail? Basically,
that's true. Yeah,
and like other techno thrillers are somewhat different. Or different in their focus, like Jurassic Park. That's a classic techno thriller. Like,
right.
Usually what happens is the author, or at least how I imagine it, is the author sits there and goes, that's an interesting thing I'd like to learn about. Like, what kind of problems would result from that? Or like another classic, like one of the originating ones is Airport by Alex Haley, author of Roots. Okay. It's not a great book, but it's a pretty decent techno thriller. It's like all nuts and bolts about how an airport functions in 1976. So like super high tech compared to everything else before it. And kind of failure modes, I guess. And it's all, it's structured in a thriller plot where, oh God. Okay. Now I have to explain thriller versus mystery. Mystery.
I think you have to.
Okay. I won't.
I mean, I think we get it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Without it explicitly being said, because yeah.
Okay. And like other techno thrillers, like most of Michael Crichton's books are techno thrillers. One can easily argue that a big portion of Neil Stephenson's oeuvre is techno thrillers.
Is that how you say that word?
Oeuvre, yeah, or oeuvre.
I always thought oeuvre, but I don't know that I've ever heard it spoken.
Yeah. So basically, Charles Stross is looking at the consequences of our current infrastructure needing to be different to deal with the immediate future demands of infrastructure based on scaling up computing bandwidth and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you're going to convince me to like this more as it goes on, and I'm already resenting you for it.
Fair enough.
Because maybe some, like, another problem with audiobooks, at least what I have, is I have trouble clicking with them for a while. Like, I'm well into the book before I'm really paying attention, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
It happened on Virtual Light, but I liked the end of Virtual Light so much that I went back and re-listened to the beginning.
Oh, yeah, you said that, yeah.
So this I didn't like enough to do that, so I might be a little fuzzy on the beginning.
Sure.
It's hard for me to place myself, I don't know, to figure out what exactly is happening and what's being conveyed.
Yeah, and I mean this book's youth's second person could hamper that pretty easily.
I was also getting distracted by that,
and also it's like most thrillers and techno thrillers, it's kind of trying to do a lot in the beginning. So if you miss, there are some points in the first like 3 or 4 chapters where if you miss a sentence, then 20 chapters on down the line, you're going to go, wait, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, I think I had a few of those moments.
Yeah.
Another problem it had was when it would switch points of view. I believe the chapters, had like a title, but he would read the title in the voice of the character.
Oh boy!
Which really made it feel like,
oh man,
it didn't feel like it was the chapter of a title. It felt like it was part of the story, and it was just there was no pause either between chapters. This audiobook was bad.
Yeah,
so it would just kind of flow into this new character, and I would get confused every time it switched POVs.
I can totally see that happening. I
really probably should have read this one once I got a little bit into it, but finding books is kind of a pain when you've only got a few days to do it.
I didn't even think of that. The chapter breaks are going to be fucking roof stoof.
Yeah, it was weird.
Because it doesn't have chapter 3 Jack chapter title. It's just chapter 2 Elaine ends, and then and then there's a page that says Jack chapter title first sentence of the next chapter. Ugh.
Anyway, these are all my caveats to why I didn't have a great listening experience. Not to say that I don't think my reasons for not loving it aren't legit, but they all add up, I guess.
Yeah, I can totally see there are a bunch of speed bumps that you had that I didn't because I read the book.
Imagine that. The old school comes through.
Yeah.
In a techno thriller.
Goddamn right.
So what's the book about? Okay. I mean, I know what it's vaguely about, but more specific.
Okay, so the book, the inciting incident of the book is the robbery of a bank in a video game. And this bank is owned by a company that all they do is do economic balancing in various video games. So the thing that makes it a problem is that this robbery should have been absolutely impossible.
So to be clear, the game contracts out to this company.
Yes. Yeah, the game contracts to this company to run the bank and basically provide a bunch of economic leveling and taking things out of circulation and adding in-game fees and things like that, because video games do have economies like real worlds to some extent.
They do.
So you need to be pulling gold out of circulation, because if everybody goes and pulls in 5 million gold from killing the same dragon, then suddenly your healing potions are going to be way easier for characters to get, because effectively deflation has happened on the items. There's too much gold out there. Everybody has millions of gold, so a 10 gold healing potion isn't shit. So you either need to nerf the potion or somehow nerf the gold. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's how it's explained in the book.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exact. The biggest problem is that gold is continually being generated by the game. The dragon doesn't take it from robbing townsfolk. The dragon respawns every couple days, and it's always got the gold on it. So you've got to find gold sinks to get rid of it.
Yeah, and I guess I should have mentioned that. That makes sense.
That's the reason, the hot new World of Warcraft mount costs 100,000 gold on top of the whatever collective tokens you have to get, because it wants to just get rid of some of your gold. That being said, the banks don't store gold. They store items.
Yes. And you can store your gold in the form of an item, which is mentioned but not heavily emphasized.
I wonder sometimes if that's why, Blizzard started, you could use gold to buy game time. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's how a lot of people play it now. To pay your monthly membership fee in World of Warcraft, you can actually drop real world gold, which I'm guessing would curb that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Although I don't know that they care so much about the in-game economy as this book does.
Yeah.
Other than just, knowing that you have to have some handle on it or things get super inflated to Zimbabwe levels.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. This whole, the inciting incident and what seems like the plot that is driving 2/3 to 3/4 of the book is this. I mean, there's a robbery. People are trying to figure out how this occurred and what the effects are going to be, etc. When in reality, this is just a lever to get into a completely different level of shit. This just happens to be a doorway with Pac-Man painted on it, and it does not, in fact, lead to an arcade.
Specifically, that's got securities issue, stock market stuff.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of stock market stuff.
International espionage,
fun international relations. Spy shit, information economy, and interconnectedness of telecommunication systems. Yeah. So it's nothing that's very important or useful to our world today.
No, not whatsoever.
Yeah.
We're doing this with 2 cans and a piece of string and a tape recorder.
Sharkly, you're getting this via SneakerNet. I showed up at your house and stuck this in your mailbox.
Yeah.
It's a classic Johnny Mnemonic scenario.
Josh records his first, and then I listen and I fill in my side.
That's why he's so quick with the burns, because he can actually rewind and,
I can think about it. I can come up with something good. Dip shit. That took me 45 minutes.
We're good at this. Okay. So, bank robbery in a game. Not a normal bank robbery for cash. This was effectively robbery of a bunch of safety deposit boxes with
digital items in it.
Yeah, epic level items or whatever. And our first, the book is structured in an ABC format where we move from one character to another character to a third character. And our first character is Sue, who is a cop in Embra. She's
where the majority of the book takes place.
Yeah, most of the book takes place in Embra, with a little bit of dodge down to London for a hot minute and then over to Glasgow.
Little Amsterdam too.
Oh yeah, forgot. Yeah. So Sue gets called to a weird concrete shack on the edge of Embra. Because there's a robbery that's taken place. And it turns out that it's not a real robbery. It's a digital robbery, and this concrete shack is the top of a former nuclear defense bunker that goes many stories into the ground. And basically, it turns out that she's told, number one, that this was all a huge mistake. She should have never been called.
Yeah.
And number two, the CEO of the company, Hayek and Associates, is certain it's an insider trading based thing, like people trying to screw up their IPO that just is going to happen, if I remember right.
I can't recall. I think it. Yeah, I think it was just about to happen.
Yeah. And also figures out that the head programmer has not shown up in the office, or has not been on for a number of days. And also she finds out that this robbery should be impossible, in any terms. It's I should have done a little bit of research. This book does not specifically say blockchain at any point that I recall.
It doesn't.
But it basically implies the existence of blockchain.
Yeah, something similar.
Yeah,
the robbery, it took place virtually. Didn't she watch a replay of it or something?
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. It's a long time ago, but and it was an actual band of marauding orcs that came in and robbed the bank.
Yes,
part of the book,
with a dragon as fire support.
Yes. Part of what bothered me about the story, I guess, was that none of this was. A lot of the important events were happening in the game, like within the structure of the game, instead of just being done by hacking the game, which seems highly like, why not just hack and steal the items that way somehow instead of actually physically playing a character that shows up at a bank? And I don't know, it was weird. It didn't seem like something that would ever happen.
I don't know. My only suggestion would be because it I'm going to put this in quote marks, looks cooler.
Yeah. Because people get their characters robbed in all kinds of games. You lose digital objects all the time to hackers, but it's not like they have to meet you in a game and physically, mug you. That just seemed weird to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
It does look cooler.
Yeah. I mean, it makes for a funner thing, I guess.
But you get what I'm saying when you've played the game and then something like just like that just wouldn't happen. It just feels weird.
Yeah, sure. I think the only, and it's a thin defense that I can put up against it, against your argument there, is that, or the only kind of in-world defense I can put up against it in my mind is that, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with kind of how all of these games are structured, because one thing that's very apparent in the book and has absolutely not happened in real life is that effectively nearly all the games, or at least most of the games this book is concerned with, run on effectively the same distributed infrastructure, kind of like if Steam, kind of like if the Google, what's that fucking thing I had to play Cyberpunk? Stadia.
Yeah.
Like if Google Stadia worked, where whatever you're on at your end doesn't matter. Like it could be a phone, it could be a, fucking Roku type device, it could be a full computer. Really, the game is playing on a server, and in this book, it's widely distributed processing across everybody's
devices,
phones.
Like the devices, boost the bandwidth. I don't want to use the technical terms, but the number of devices add to the power
processing
of the game.
Power, and since it's distributed like that, and every game that we deal with in the course of the novel is all built on kind of the same engine. Yes.
Engine. Yeah.
There we go.
What's it called? The
shit.
They say it a billion times. I don't know
why they do. It's something short.
It's
like lore or.
Anyway, it'll come to us.
Yeah. So that's the only excellent. Like maybe you can make your head canon that makes sense with all that kind of built up mental infrastructure behind it.
Yeah,
doesn't fucking matter.
And
I can
are
see
these virtual reality games too, like or augmented at least.
It seems like some of them are augmented or virtual reality, although the vast majority of the gameplay is really, people sitting down behind a laptop or a monitor.
Yeah.
Because at one point, Jack mentions that Elaine is trying to do some weird haptic feedback shit.
Right, which was the mark of a noob.
Yeah.
Like somebody with way too much money buying too many peripherals and just needs to get good, as they'd say.
Is that what they say? That people
GITGUD, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Good to know. Anyway, so there's been a crime, except it's only sort of a crime. It's like not really a crime for the real cops.
And Sue's a real cop, not a...
Sue is a very normal fucking cop. Yeah. She's like, I'm a detective. I investigate assaults.
That's another thing about this book. There's high tech, but there's no low life, and there's not really any punk.
No,
and only a hint of cyber. There's quite a bit of cyber when you count all the virtual reality stuff, but No punk whatsoever.
No, not really.
Our characters are corpos and cops.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Even the one Burnout character, POV, specifically states at one point, I've got enough money. I don't have to do this if I don't want to. So, yeah, no low life.
No. Yeah, that's very true. Hadn't really thought of that. I would consider this, if it wasn't already a category where like a bunch of Philip K. Dick shit fits into, I would call this book proto-cyberpunk, because like this book and the world that this book posits is clearly leading to a cyberpunk future. Like it's, this is 20 years from a cyberpunk future, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, this is clearly a precursor to horrible corporate, all the cyberpunk bullshit we know and love.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty realistic of what future could have branched off from 2008. Instead, we get this horrible pre-dystopia.
Yeah.
It could have been that one. That one seems a little bit nicer than this one, if I'm not being honest.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest huge problem is like, Scotland separated from England, not Brexit.
Yeah, England, who's still in the EU.
Yeah. Okay, so Sue has to investigate this. She doesn't know how to. She's basically going to hang around and wait for her bosses to show up and see what they tell her.
Sorry,
Chapter 2.
My mic stand is in the process of trying to fall off, and I'm trying to mute it to minimize the
noise.
Okay.
I was hearing line noise come in and out.
Yeah, I keep muting it so that I don't deafen you when the thing inevitably falls over.
Do you want to pause for a moment and fix it?
No, I'm good. I think I got it.
Okay. So, Chapter 2, we're introduced to Elaine. She is fighting with swords.
Yeah, she's a sword lady.
Yeah, she is. She's our second main character, and she is doing some sort of augmented reality. It's called HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts. Basically, sword fighting with a fucking dude, and she's pretty good. And we find out after the sword fight ends that she works for an insurance company, but not in normal insurance company. Like, not where she's not the type of person that you would ask about if you, got into a minor fender bender. Even though that's exactly what this guy does, because he doesn't understand. We'll find out later that she's a high-level auditor for effectively corporate insurance stuff and making sure deals go through and things like that. And she's fun. Her mom listens to a band that Eric and I like, New Model Army.
I didn't catch that. I must have missed that part.
Oh yeah. The guy insults her by saying your mother wears army boots. And she says, how did you know? And there's this whole back and forth for a second. And she says, yeah, there were these, there were these crusties from Brumley. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah. So it's a fun little New Model Army reference, which I 100% did not get on my first read of this book.
Maybe that's why I missed it.
Yeah. It's just a very side. I was like, hey, I know them. Go listen to New Model Army, people. 51st State. Good band.
Fun band.
Yeah. Fuck Texas, Scream for Us. It's a good one. Anyway, so we don't know how she's going to be involved in this. Doesn't matter. Chapter ends after we establish she's kind of a corporate accountant, auditor person for an insurance company. Chapter 3. We get introduced to Jack, the third main character. He is recently unemployed from a game studio that was making a football hooligan game.
Terrible, awful sounding game.
Yeah, it seems like a nightmare, but it also seems like the type of thing that would have 9 billion users.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like just monetized to fucking shit and back.
Yeah, it seems terrible. Like I read it and I'm like, I wonder if this game actually exists. I bet it does.
Yeah.
So he was working on a Fitba hooligan game, which was canceled after some kind of World Cup based disaster in real life. And he is currently out with some people getting fucked up in Amsterdam, not unlike the Rubber Bandits' Dad's Best Friend music video and song. Wow. That's a cut.
Also, believe that's one of the seasons of Patriot. He's
you're right.
A lot of time getting fucked up and riding bikes in Amsterdam.
Yeah, that's true.
I missed that show.
Yeah, me too. R.I.P. Patriot.
R.I.P. Patriot. Anyway, back to Halting State here, because we have got to hit the tight 90 somehow.
Oh, yeah, we do. Okay, so anyway, Jack's getting all fucked up in Amsterdam. He ends up handcuffed to a lamppost in a stolen recliner and arrested by the Amsterdam cops. So that's the end of his chapter.
Yeah. Much nails it.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of move forward a little bit quicker. We go through a little bit of police talk with Sue, and she is getting stuck with this investigation. Quote marks, investigation is probably not going to result in anything, and it's just going to irritate her and take space away from real crimes.
Yeah.
And there is she interviews one of the guys at Hayek and Associates, a guy named Wayne Richardson. And there is quite a lot of bureaucracy talk and who does what and how this is all fucked up. And it explains a little bit of game economy stuff. Then we introduce Elaine into the narrative. She gets a call and has to head into work for a crisis meeting. There's a really good bit on the misery of commuting where she talks about taking the train past the landscape of, quote, cyberpunk dildos, reflective cyberpunk dildos, I think it was.
She's still in London at this point, right?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. The Shard.
Accurate description of London.
The Shard et al. And she finds out that she's getting pulled into this crisis team because she is apparently the only one in the section with any sort of background as a gamer. And she doesn't know what the fuck that means or why that would be qualifying her, but whatever. She gets paid a lot of money. Jack gets out of jail.
Yeah.
With a €250 fine. It's all fine. No big deal. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I just wondered when Elaine did her first little errand for the Spooks game that she was playing.
Oh, that's a ways off.
It's a ways off? Okay.
Yeah, that's after she gets to Edinburgh.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get to the meeting. So the whole reason that Elaine is somehow involved in this. Oh, and there was also a chapter of basically a transcript of Sue's interview with Richardson explaining all the virtual economies and how they work and interact with the real world, because in the world of the novel, even though it's against the terms and conditions, people do a lot of auctioning of virtual items on, say, like eBay. So you can turn your, the sword you pulled out of whatever dragon horde into actual cash money.
Which was really big news at the time that people were doing that, and the media thought it was super weird.
Yeah, I remember that EverQuest was a big focus of that stuff. Like, oh, people are selling blah 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 in EverQuest for blah.
Yeah, we had a mutual friend who sold a character for I think $3,000 or something.
Oh yeah,
back when we were young enough that $3,000 was fucking. I mean, it's
real
still
money?
A lot of money, but it was like
it was real money.
It was real money then.
Yeah. So it's actually a really interesting chapter, but it's impossible to summarize beyond talk about virtual economies and how they interact with the real world economies.
Yeah.
So then we have Elaine has a meeting with her corpo guys about the robbery. The whole thing is that their company, which is Diedrich Brunner and Associates, I want to say, they vetted and audited Hayek Associates for one of the primary investors who bought in for who is already invested and is going to buy in more for the IPO. So their insurance company is on the hook for a lot of money if this turns out to be, a failure on their part. Like they didn't see, if there was a loose thread that they didn't see, as opposed to it being, oh no, somebody went out and did something totally fucking illegal and difficult. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a lot of boring corporate shit, though. Maybe that's another reason I didn't like the book.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boring corporate shit, which is not usually when I'm signing up for Cyberpunk. I'm signing up to fight that shit.
Boring corporate shit. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So anyway, she thinks it's important to get a native guide hired because she's not in this kind of gaming space, and is gonna head to Embra. So Jack ends up getting hired for it because it turns out he has the exact same skill set as the currently missing programmer for Hayek and Associates. Like, exactly
how
the same skill set. Yeah, it's weird, right? And he's like, this is fucking weird. I don't know. I'll charge him $8,000 a day plus expenses.
He has a very weird meeting that I kind of wanted to mention because his job interview basically for this, like I couldn't tell, was it virtual? Was it in person? Was it?
No, it's
hybrid?
It's a Zoom, but he has to go to a special office for the Zoom call. And it's implied that the people on the other end of the Zoom call are doing the same thing that,
like Johnny Mnemonic, where
exactly,
where he's doing the hand puppet, and being the corporate guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I didn't put that together, but it makes sense now that you tell me.
Yeah. So he gets the job. It's exciting.
Yeah, for way more than he expected it to be, which red flags, but he's bored. Like it sounds like he doesn't even need the money. He's just bored.
Well, I think he does need the money. He's got enough of a cushion to where he doesn't have to take any job. And this one rings enough alarm bells that he's like, all right, I'm going to tell, it's like the Jackie Cation bit. Never say no without a number.
Yeah.
So somebody offers you a job, you say 8 or 10 times what you actually would normally expect. And if they're willing to pay it, shit, I mean, you kind of got to do it.
Yeah. It's like when a plumber bids a job and you're like, what the fuck is that number? Well, that means he doesn't want to do the job, but he will if you exorbitantly overpay him.
If you just throw cash at him with a leaf blower.
Yeah.
So anyway, he gets the job. Sue's going to remain on the case. She goes to the programmer's house and he doesn't answer the door. No big deal. And then basically gets a weekend off. And there's a really interesting bit about where it describes what is called in the book cop space, where all the cops are wearing AR glasses all the time.
Right.
So they are constantly seeing, just people with, people's profiles right over their heads at every second and seeing, all sorts of cool augmented reality bullshit and it comes out through the rest of the book that makes it possible for them to do their jobs because in, I want to say 2004, the UK rolled out a different set of criminal laws to replace 600 years of just kind of stacks of precedent over and over again. So one of the examples it gives at some much later point in the book is that disturbing the peace got replaced with 250 separate laws. That amount, they're specific, and it's good that they got replaced, as opposed to a cop just being able to say, you're disturbing the peace.
Right, but there's no way any cop can remember all of them.
Yeah, it's impossible to actually and it's actually impossible to have an encyclopedic memory of this. So you have, like, this is something that can
honestly,
only exist in a fully augmented world.
A lot of the future things are improvements that would be really nice if they were made in this. Just mainly the technology infrastructure is, and even that, it's just like people found a loophole. Anyway, we could keep going. Just a lot of it's not really a dystopia. It's more of a,
not yet.
Yeah, it's a precursor to.
Yeah. So, so Monday morning, Sue goes back to the programmer's apartment. They break in with some fucking rams.
Yeah, they had some cool tech. This like some shit to see through doors and.
Yeah, and also they put a big plastic steel around the outside of the apartment door to seal in, particulates and stuff like that. It's it's really clever way to do it.
Yeah, their forensics didn't fuck around.
Fucking hype. Turns out the apartment's like totally shielded and like blocked from, anybody being able to see inside. Inside, it's a fucking mess, and it's maybe been looted. There's a bunch of cables leading up to the roof, and there's apparently a lot of fucking blood in the kitchen. So it seems like maybe this programmer's been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. She ends up interviewing the CEO of the company of Hayek, and comes off as a raging fucking psycho.
Yeah, that was a weird chapter.
Yeah, and absolutely hates the investigators, and wants revenge on whoever is involved with any of this.
Yeah, I didn't seem to care that he was talking to a cop. It was.
Yeah, well, it's very much in the British sense, a public school boy who is not getting what he wants.
Yeah.
And so we then have a little forensics breakdown. So it turns out that Nigel MacDonald, the missing programmer, has been missing since the prior Wednesday. He usually doesn't work in the office, which is said a couple of times. And he's also just a ghost in all of the national systems. Like, he doesn't have a driver's license. He doesn't have a bus pass. He doesn't have a lot of things that you would normally need to live a relatively easy life. He's got like a credit history, and he's, got a mortgage on an apartment, and, he shows up in the databases, but he just doesn't seem to do anything at all. And the apartment has been completely sanitized by total fucking pros, except for the blood in the kitchen.
They took the microwave. I remember that.
Yeah, they scrubbed the fridge out and took the microwave.
Did they ever pay off why they took the microwave?
It's mentioned, I think, why they took the microwave, and they actually speculate about it here, that they had been using it to bake hard drives that they pulled out of the servers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So they just basically tossed all the microwaves, or all the drives in, microwaved them, and then just took the whole microwave because they were already in there. Who cares?
Sense.
Yeah. And it's full of his apartment's full of tons of like wildly expensive computer equipment, like big, giant fucking server racks and a satellite uplink dish on the roof. And it's what do they call it in the book? A blacknet node, where it's effectively
you can get anything on the blacknet.
Yeah, it's kind of providing VPN services for the blacknet, the darknet. Yeah, and it's confusing. Nobody has any idea how the fuck this connects to anything. So, So Elaine and Jack meet up. She explains the robbery to Jack.
Instant chemistry.
Yeah.
You ask me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he starts giving her kind of a walkthrough of Avalon 4, because she's never really played any more pigs or anything like that. most of her gaming experience is in what many people would derogatorily call casual games.
Yeah.
And also this game called Spooks. Don't worry about it. It's never going to come back. So
it's just it's so strange that this book, like, Elaine was the only one in her office with gaming experience in a company that has a pretty big investment in the gaming space, and she's done so little of it. Plus, but they kind of imply later on in the book that, like, most people, it seems like a lot of people are playing some form of game, or they're at least involved with this engine that runs the games, right?
They also mention like later, on towards the last third of the book or quarter of the book, that like when she and Jack are having some very paranoid conversations about, wait, how much of this has been planned out? What the fuck?
Yeah.
She actually, like, on the page wonders, like, wait, it is fucking weird that I would be the only one at the company with any gaming experience.
Yeah. True.
Like, so how much of it's a plot? Like, there's this weird meta level to the book where the characters are wondering at what the author is doing. Like, how much of this is all a setup? You built us characters to be exactly in the place where we needed to be.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of interesting that way. So I don't know. I'm going to speed this shit up. So
speed it up.
Yeah, Jack and Elaine.
Middle of the book doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah, that's not the important part. Jack and Elaine pursue it from sort of in-game perspective.
It becomes kind of a mystery for a while.
Yeah, it acts like a mystery. And Jack and Elaine are also kind of getting friendly. Then Jack
catching feels.
Yeah, then Jack gets a phone call with an implied threat to his nieces. Put an asterisk by that.
Put a big old asterisk by that.
Yeah. He files a police report about it.
That's a big old. Well, we'll get it to when the asterisk is footnoted or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like the way the book is written. You like. The Stross is hanging a fucking hat on on Jack feeling pretty fucking weird about this and conflicted in what's going on. And you get the vibe that something is pretty wrong with how he's reacting to it.
Well, and I'm sure this was intentional, but they're also like a lot of it. Jack is sending like, oh, I can't tell them about this.
Yeah.
They can't know yet. And they're building Jack up like he's got this dark past, which the payoff is not really that dark. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah, it's actually a very clever thing in my mind. Like, oh yeah, this explains everything, and it is also somehow the most innocent possible. Like, it explains why he's acting like this, like a fucking weirdo, and it's very clever, at least to me. So
I also found it kind of boring.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
To me, Jack was the only interesting character, and he, because of these things, and it ended up him just kind of being boring too.
Yeah, I can totally see why that would be.
Yeah.
So we learned some more stuff about like Elaine. Like, she used to play this game called Spooks, which is kind of an augmented reality thing.
Sounds fun, actually. I'd like to play it.
I mean, there have been a number of games like that.
Really?
Yeah. The Spooks concept here is kind of coasting off of, what was it called? Cicada 3391, something like that. It was kind of an augmented reality puzzle solving game that
sounds like a filthy casual game.
Supposedly the NSA set up as a recruitment trap. And then like 9 Inch Nails did, it was about the time this book came out, also did kind of an augmented reality thing where people would like get missions to do weird shit.
Oh, also like Pokemon Go to the polls.
Yes, and yes, Elaine did have to Pokemon Go to the polls. She was an illegal voter in 2016 for Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Oh man, just seriously, fuck that lady, right?
Yeah.
Pokemon Go fuck yourself.
I know that's not the first time it's been said.
No,
but,
no.
That was a very solid. You
definitely
delivered it
not my
well.
joke, but
yeah.
The sentiment remains.
Yeah. So Elaine plays this fun game where like you occasionally get messages or phone calls or something that say, "Hey, you're gonna get you're gonna get an envelope. Go put a chalk mark here, and then put the envelope under a bench over here." And then somebody else who's playing the game has to go pick up the envelope and do something somewhere else. Doesn't matter. It's kind of playing spy shit.
Yeah.
Which, yes, sounds very fun.
Sure. Although she does kind of complain that she was expecting a little more than just being a glorified Uber driver, basically, or Uber Eats driver. Postmates. That's what I was looking for.
Postmates.
Sorry, back it up.
Yes.
Glorified Postmates driver.
Good job.
Thank you.
She also, bought a claymore at a pawn shop. Don't worry about it. She's in Scotland. She likes swords.
Don't worry about it. I'll never come up again.
Yeah. In Scotland, like swords, it'll never come up again. Don't worry about it.
I did like how it was presented. She's like, how the fuck am I going to get this home on a plane?
Yeah. Yeah. She just kind of wakes up and realizes, oh, yeah, I bought a fucking claymore. Shit.
Because I've done that. I've been traveling in another country and been like, oh, I would really like to buy that. And like, wait a minute. I've got to cross an international border with that.
That is, hey, look, I'm going to tell you just the secret for doing like in borders national travel. USPS media mail, man. You can pack a lot of shit into those like
poster tubes.
Poster tubes, and also just the square like boxes. In trips in the past, I have shockingly, I buy way too many books. So I've ended up shipping home like multiple of the like 16 by 16 by 16 boxes full of fucking hardcover books.
God damn.
Which is so much if you do it in the media mail boxes.
It's like, it's a standard postage, right?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, $8 or something
That's
as compared to the, I don't know, 60 for weight that I would be paying.
That's how I get records from bands when you or get them directly from the band. They always go media mail, which takes a long time, but yeah, it's cheap. Yeah.
Pro tip. Anyway, we're not buying swords.
Yet.
So Jack figures out like he figures out an idea of what if we investigate the tunnel that the robber orcs used. They go into this tunnel. They trigger a fucking trap. There's a big fucking fight. And it turns out the tunnel leads to somewhere in Guangzhou and a hentai game. So it turns out that these guys were illegal immigrants into the game space that the bank was based in.
Yeah, all this was super weird. Like, you could get out of one game and into another. I didn't really follow it. It seemed...
It makes little sense, although the explanation is very spread out. I didn't understand it until... I remember very specifically not understanding it until kind of closer to the end of the book, my first read through. Since they all run on the same fucking engine, a lot of games, even though it's usually against the terms and conditions...
T's and C's.
Yeah, gently recruit players from other games. And even though you're not supposed to be able to port your player from one company's fantasy game over to another company's fantasy game, I mean, that's obviously insane. They want you to spend all the time and energy building your player in their game. You can port characters from one game into the next, and that's what this is, effectively.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense in real terms.
Sure, I believe you. I don't know. I don't do that gamer shit. I'm not a fucking nerd. Fucking Pokemon, go fuck yourself. I sound like Burr enough?
A little bit. Man, he's trending on Twitter right now.
I saw that like while I was taking the dog out.
He basically told Bill Maher to Pokemon go fuck himself.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Like, I don't know. I don't like fucking murdering kids.
He remains the most elusive comic to me in that he can maintain the fan base that he has saying the words that he says.
Yeah. It's truly a mystery.
And both sides love him.
Yeah. So Sue meets with Jack and Elaine. They talk over kind of how this is going. Sue is very defensive through this because she's like fucking insurance people. But also, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And they come up with
and they're plan. Like fucking cops.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, Jack's not. Jack's like, sure, let's tell her everything. And,
yeah.
And Elaine's like, wait a minute, this is proprietary information. Shut your fucking mouth.
Also, she's a fucking northern monkey. Also, you're a fucking northern monkey. And Sue calls them southern fairies, and we just,
Sure.
So
British
they come up,
shit.
Yeah. They come up with a plan to identify the stolen items. Basically, they put up a bunch of signs saying, hey, did you lose something in the blah, blah, blah bank? Tell us what it was, and we'll submit you for an in-game insurance claim. Smart. So then Jack, being a good programmer, builds a thing to theoretically parse all these claims because the bank itself doesn't know what was inside it because, again, it goes to that distributed processing blockchain.
Yeah.
It makes sense if you think about it for a minute, although it's irritating in the same way that literally everything involving the blockchain is irritating.
Right. Encryption, blockchain, hand wave.
Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense, but fuck, I'm just so tired, people. I'm just so tired.
Tired of technology.
So
I want to go camping.
He builds a program. Oh God, I'm so looking forward to the end of this month.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah. He builds a program to basically sort through all these insurance claims, figure out what's real, and then search auction sites for them. So they can hopefully find some of these things. Then the next day, that same night, he finds some photos of his nieces, in an envelope and calls the cops again. Hooray.
Yeah.
So things are going great, and he's totally normal about it. Then the next day, Europol arrives, which is kind of like Interpol. There is a super high-tech spy shit fucking Rainbow Six raid on a warehouse involving like super crazy fucking, I don't know, commandos with fucking jumpsuits and zip lines and helicopters and all sorts of shit. Are you talking
Rainbow Six the game or the book?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, same difference. Also, yeah, Tom Clancy, another techno thriller writer.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, and Sue is basically kind of at the pointy end of this just because for, I don't know, shit we haven't covered and it doesn't matter. And she is informed that all normal cop communications are compromised. And shit is going fucking down.
I feel like Sue's chapters are all to ramp up tension. Like they don't really advance. I mean, they kind of advance the plot, but mainly they just let you know that because she's a cop and she sees stuff that normies don't, that tensions are getting higher and higher in Edinburgh.
I think that's correct. And also, interestingly, we know the least about Sue by a huge margin.
Yeah, she has a kid, apparently.
She has a kid. She has a wife. A big portion of her duties for the Edinburgh PD is to basically show up as the token, obviously non-straight person. But she's also a pretty good detective. The interesting thing is that Charles Stross is actually really good generally about LGBTQIA plus representation. He himself is, I think, bisexual. I'm not sure. I've never heard him explain it specifically. But he generally has a lot. And I think he's doing something really specific with Sue here, and I don't quite grok what it is. Like, and it might just be that once Sue is off the clock, she is off the fucking clock. She leaves the goddamn narrative. Why would she think about this shit?
It's true. Yeah, she does seem like the type that when she's not working, she's not giving a shit about work. Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, a lot of cops are like that.
Yeah, she barely, thinks or does anything about her family when she is on the clock.
The other two, actually, Jack in particular won't stop talking about work to the point where Claire is like, dude, chill out, have a drink, let's relax, bro.
Yeah. So we have the big fucking raid on the warehouse. There are all sorts of cool electronic countermeasures. Like as soon as people enter with augmented reality glasses, like monsters start popping out of the walls and shit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
They're like the cops are just shooting blank walls because fucking zombies burst out of them or whatever. Fun time. Turns out it's a giant goddamn server farm with some sort of cryogenically cooled quantum processor right in the middle of it. With like, I don't know, you assume if it's a movie, there are going to be lasers and fog and shit, right?
Yeah, I can picture it.
And then as soon as the raid is done, like as soon as the building is cleared, one of the main dudes from Hayek, Barry or Brent Michaels, shows up with the Minister of Police and a couple of other people who don't say their names and shuts everything down, saying that they're going to be confiscating all of the evidence, every bit of footage, etc. You were fucking never here. This warehouse doesn't exist. This has to stop immediately. At which point, some cops in another room shut down the generator that's powering a lot of stuff because it's making weird noises and showing them zombies or something. And then the electromagnet quenches in the quantum processor and things go poorly.
Yeah. Not well.
Yeah. Sends the main Interpol guy to the hospital. Everybody gets a splitting fucking headache because when a giant electromagnet quenches, a lot of liquid hydrogen or nitrogen, depends on what you're dealing with, suddenly moves from liquid to gas, which creates huge pressure differentials and can do fun stuff like burst your eardrums if you're too close, or make you pass out because suddenly there's a lot of nitrogen in the air and no oxygen, etc.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This is a thing, and you can actually see videos of it on YouTube when MRI machines quench.
Ooh, neat.
It costs, if that happens, it is a huge disaster for the hospital. It costs so much money to get them running again. It's like crazy.
I like a good MRI accident video for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like a fucking steam whistle combined with an explosion. It's fun times. It's very cool. So basically, then Sue gets an explanation. Sue and her boss get an explanation. It turns out that Hayek is partially / mostly a front for an intelligence service. Scottish, British, who knows? Kamal who was the main Interpol guy, read some things incorrectly and made 2 + 2 = 5, leading to this fucking raid. He was thinking that there was a giant, possibly Chinese, who knows, he didn't explain it, infoterrorism operation happening at this location. And that is not what was happening. Turns out that, no, this is all Hayek and Associates and the intelligence services shit. And basically it turns out that all of this is reading every bit of Scotland and the UK's mail and listening to all their phone calls, etc., etc. It's, kind of a big bit of business. And it's no good. So things go poorly.
That's illegal.
And, yeah, it's very illegal. And then her boss takes Sue out to lunch, and she basically lays out how Sue's going to operate for the rest of this. Like, keep your fucking head on the swivel. Trust nothing anybody other than like me and maybe those 2 auditor people tell you. Like, try and investigate as best you can, but everything else is
stay
sketchy.
offline.
Yeah.
Get a burner phone. Don't use your glasses.
Yeah, she thinks this is serious fucking InfoWar shit. And yeah, and
the frogs are gay.
Gay frogs.
Remember that part of the book?
Yeah. And this brings up a whole bunch of questions like, oh yeah, is that programmer that was dead, is he really a real person? Like, was he? Why was there a black net set up in his apartment? Also, there was this murder last week with a completely unidentified victim. And her boss, Kavanaugh, really doesn't want another murder happening on their patch, or to be set up to be doing the dirty work for some fucking borderline sketchy intel service. So, yeah. Jack and Elaine are chasing shit down in terms of game stuff. They go to Glasgow because Jack figures out that somebody who is auctioning some of the stolen stuff he thinks is at a convention in Glasgow. And fortunately, Glasgow is like 50 miles away. I mean, it's a short drive. It's really weird to have the 2 major cities in a country so fucking close together.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But it's a thing. So they go. Jack basically chases, using AR, Jack basically chases down the guy to a hotel room where he is auctioning. He's auctioning that stolen stuff and other stuff. Turns out to be what seems to be like probably a Chinese graduate student. And Jack's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And the guy basically says that he got the stuff from the clubhouse, and he wants like 2 million euros and witness protection from Guanbo. And if you can't give him that, you fuck yourself. If you caught me, I'm dead anyway. And then tries to run for it. And
this
Jack
is an
follows.
indication that the little robbery is not like, why would anybody be scared for their life over a video game robbery?
Yeah. And Jack in game, like the guy bolts from the room. Jack follows him both in reality and.
This was all very confusing to me.
This part is real sketch in terms of the AR
versus VR
thing. Yeah. So Jack follows this guy in VR to the clubhouse, quote marks. And then the dude stabs him in VR and also RR real reality.
Yes.
RR pirates.
But misses. I feel like his keyboard took the brunt of the stab, so he only got like a little bit of a poke.
Yeah, he just got a little bit of a poke and some shock and scare from it. And then the dude takes off and disappears. So Elaine stops Jack from getting arrested for assault. They're gonna grab some dinner and go home. They Google this Guanbo thing that the guy mentioned, and it turns out it's like the Chinese CIA. So they're in a taxi that's supposed to be taking them to dinner. And
they actually did Google too.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even notice. Yeah, you're right.
They didn't search with different colored letters in the same color as Google.
Yeah. So they're in this taxi going to get dinner, and they're going to catch the train home.
They're in a Johnny cab.
Yes, they are in fact in a Johnny cab. And then Elaine gets a phone call from Spooks saying that the cab has been compromised by Guanbo and that this is not a game.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
The Spooks is just a game.
Yeah, isn't it? Right?
Guess not.
So, she breaks into the driver's seat because the taxi is taking them somewhere to kill them, like drive them off a cliff or into the bay or something. and then
Very
wrecks the
tense
car.
moment of unscrewing a screw.
Yeah.
With a utility knife or something. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, like Swiss Army knife or something. Yeah. And then we get a fun chapter change where Jack wakes up in A&E.
Yeah.
Which is accident and emergency, which is the British version of the emergency room. Also other countries. That doesn't necessarily translate to American automatically. So Elaine calls Spooks, and turns out this shit is real. Like, all this shit is real, and Jack's niece was reported abducted 2 hours ago. Bum, bum, bum.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder how Jack feels about that.
Yeah. Well, he is getting understandably paranoid as they're being driven back to Embra in the police car, or by a police officer. They get dropped off at the Hayek offices, where Michaels, the main Hayek guy who was also the intelligence guy, meets them and takes them down into some creepy fucking electronics-less sub-basement from like 1930.
Right, yeah.
And he gives them something like a full explanation of what he understands. There's actually a whole thing of, there's this fucking Venn diagram of what people know and what they say to other characters and stuff. This is very standard shit in mysteries and thrillers. They basically, he explains that they trace the kidnapping stuff to the kidnapping of Jack's niece's stuff to a bunch of dead ends. And that it seems like the whole thing that's orchestrating that is some sort of automated system, like a, what do they use? Procedural engine.
Yes.
Which, it's like, and it seems like a ton of this is being run by these procedural engines, which are in effect kind of like, I don't want to call them AIs because they aren't, but like chatbots,
Yeah.
If you feed a computer a whole bunch of thriller plots and say, okay, you're the bad guy in this one, it will eventually spit out, kidnap his niece.
Well, also, I think Jack maybe it was here, maybe it was later. Jack just explained like procedural generation in video games.
Yeah.
Which he was on the button with that and way ahead, because like I think Minecraft was the first game to really popularize it. I'm sure it existed before that, but
it was a goal for a really long time,
and now it's incredibly common in video games, even in like fairly low budget indie games. Most of the games I play are procedurally generated. It just saves a lot of programming time and work.
Yeah, I think he explains that later, and I'm not sure I actually wrote it down because it
didn't really matter.
I made the mistake of thinking, yeah, I know what procedurally generated is.
It was one of those things where I was like, this guy definitely knows about the tech end of video games.
Yeah,
but I don't think he plays them.
That is absolutely true. So, shit. How long are we into this thing?
Hour 43.
Fuck this. Okay. Okay, so the plot works out. I'm not gonna go through this. So it turns out the Spooks is real. Like a major portion of the rest of the book is that Spooks is real. Spooks is a way
like a recruiting.
Yeah, it's effective. Yeah, it's effectively a recruiting system. Except you don't even know you've been recruited unless you're one of the very lucky or unlucky few.
Yeah, I'd say unlucky.
It's getting a ton of people to do a ton of shit, and this has been like an intelligence service trick for a very long time, like forever.
Right. This seemed very possible.
Yeah,
I was listening to it.
Not the electronic version of it, but like there have long been effectively running gags of, in the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, every third Sunday, the undersecretary, like the literal secretary of the Undersecretary of Agricultural Affairs, goes to blah, blah, blah park, sits on a bench, eats a sandwich, makes a chalk mark, and then goes back to the embassy. And she feeds the pigeons or whatever. And the joke is that, like, every employee in the embassy is doing something like that because you're just flooding the fucking zone with things that might or might not mean something,
right,
for the enemy to observe, to cover, like, the, you know, things you are doing.
Yeah.
So it's both doing that, like, you have like shitloads and shitloads of dumb spy shit going on all the time in spooks, but you've also got, like, you pick out the people who seem actually pretty good at it and have the skills and, you know, qualifications you need, and you actually, you know, maybe recruit them into full-time shit.
Yeah.
It's a great fucking bit in terms of intelligence services. So spooks has been real this whole time. Also, Jack was, long prior to the book starting, being groomed for spooks, like to be a developer on what will effectively amount to Spooks 2.0. What they are seeing and what this whole bank robbery and plot ends up being is a combination of a couple of things. One, the CEO of Hayek and Associates was greedy, and he knew Hayek and Associates was gonna fucking crash and burn. So he made a big fucking short bet on it. Shorting in terms of stocks.
As in The Big Short.
Yes, as in The Big Short. Now, you see, the mortgages were subprime. And wait, let me go back. So he made a big short bet on the company because this company was never going to last for the long term. What he didn't know was that this company, he was one of the useful idiot civilians brought in to cover for the intelligence operations that Hayek was running, which was that big quantum processor and reading everybody's mail. Mm-hmm. So he didn't know that this was like the one company out of however many hundreds and hundreds of tech companies that was never going to go under. They were always going to find a new angel investor because
they're a front for,
yeah. So he thought, this company's fucking going down. I'm getting greedy. I'm going to set up a robbery of this company so that way I can make, you know, this huge fucking short bet, and that'll fuck up the IPO irrevocably. But I've made the short bet, so I'll be fine. I'll sit in fucking Bermuda in the sun. And he probably got this idea because one of the Guanbo, the Chinese CIA people, had somehow basically suggested, like, we're trying to make opportunities available for him to become a traitor and compromise the intelligence network. Because a huge amount of this has to do with cryptographic one-time pad keys. It's cryptography shit, which we can eventually get into on a totally different book. I don't want to on this one, though.
It Cryptonomicon?
Cryptonomicon, yes. Yeah. So basically, he sold the cryptographic keys to West Europe, or to the European Union, effectively, to China. At one point, it's explained that they are in the early stages of a three-front war, which will all be fought in information and information technology between China, India, and the European Union.
Not America, because they're irrelevant.
It is directly explained that, yes, America is irrelevant. And one of the things that I actually really liked about it is that he very much explained how why America was irrelevant and will be.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong the way he explained it. Like
he explains
sheer numbers.
Yeah, we're out of the running because we don't have the numbers.
We're spending all our money on tanks and jets,
and we built all of our fucking infrastructure over the past 50 years, when in reality, we should have been spending it like, a huge, especially fucking Eastern Europe. Like, that's why so many of those huge fucking hacker groups are in places like Albania, Central and Southern and Eastern Europe, because they didn't have to spend $1 billion to yank telephone lines out to replace with fiber. They just, speed ran over the whole thing. Yeah. So yeah, this is the earliest days of a front, and the Chinese Secret Service basically recruited a fucking gamer clan of hackers to go fuck with Europe. Or go fuck with Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, they did the same thing that Spooks was doing. Mm-hmm. They got a bunch of basically, gold farmers to raw. Yeah, it's little proxy war in virtual reality.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it ends up in this showdown in a fucking hotel room where Jack is doing some wild fucking hacking, and he had long ago stuffed some, moderately illegal code to, he had long ago hidden this in some company that he thought he might be fired from, but he could access it after the fact. And he's getting this, and he's going to lead a fucking, fight against the Guanbo in VR, and the hotel is surrounded by a flash mob.
Very 2007. Extremely 2007.
And it actually mentions that. Like, it says something along the lines of, like, flash mobs used to be? A bunch of people acting like fucking zombies out in the street in front of this hotel. And then the Hayek guy shows up with a fucking gun and basically says, "You ruined all my shit. Fuck you." And then Elaine's Claymore comes into action.
Well, first, before that, Jack has to... Yeah. Well, we missed when Jack tells his first big dark secret.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I got caught up with
it's fine. I love the fact that we're kicking ahead because we need to be done. But when Jack and Elaine finally hook up, which, they're from the moment they're introduced, they're going to hook up. Yeah. And when they finally do, Jack's like, I have to tell her. I can't, in good conscience, be with her without telling her my dark secret. And he shares that he's on the sex offender registry because when he was 16, he kissed a girl in public or something.
No, he was 15, and so was she.
She was 16. I remember he was actually younger.
Well, okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was 15. She was 16, and it was right when those new laws that I had had rolled out, which basically made any sort of sexual contact with someone under the age of 17 or whatever. Maybe he was 14 and she was 15. Yeah,
something like that.
I think that was right. Anybody under 16 who was doing any sort of sexual contact,
including kissing,
went on to could be prosecuted for sexual assault, blah, blah, blah. He did not realize, and his parents and whatever did not realize at the time, that effectively pleading down, and this was like caught on fucking video somehow.
Pleading down admits guilt.
Yeah, and it turns out that, pleading down admits guilt. As opposed to, like, had they taken it to court, they would have been fucking tossed.
Yeah.
But he is on the sex offender registry for life. Which
Elaine responds with, fuck, who cares?
Yeah, but...
I would be too if I'd been caught my first kiss.
Yeah, it's the type of thing, like, I can totally see why somebody would be completely fucked up about that, because it's the type of thing that you literally have to tell everybody.
Yeah, it's rough.
And it, as explainable as it is, that first sentence of, "I'm on the sex offender registry," could get you punched instantaneously.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a legit reason to avoid intimate contact his whole fucking life, which he basically has.
Yeah. And then his second deep dark secret is that his niece does not exist. His niece Elsie is dead. She died in a car wreck. I think it was 4 years ago, something like that. So. And he has avoided intimate contact, as you said, for his whole fucking life. And just couldn't handle the idea of not having somebody. So he hired a company that I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere, but I've lost my place, to basically replace, like, act like a long distance family member, or, probably the company I'm sure offers girlfriend or mother or whatever.
It's like a her situation almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like his job was, I mean, not Scarlett Johansson, whatever, fucking forget her.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
Remember, do you write letters or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's definitely her, but it's not the her of her.
It's not the titular her. It's him, actually.
That's him job in her.
Yes. Okay. We got it straightened out. Gotcha.
Yes. Him job in her. So, that's his second big dark secret. So, Elsie was never kidnapped. So basically, when Jack was reporting things to the police, he was reporting that he was being threatened, etc.
Yeah, and so he knew from the get-go that everybody was...
that something was wrong with what was going on.
Because they'd use the kidnapping as basically leverage. They're like, we're going to keep your niece safe if you work with us.
Mm-hmm.
Which he knew was bullshit, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the Claymore comes. Chekhov's Claymore. Claymore's more.
Yeah, Claves Hackman hacks Clayman.
Claymore Hackman. Clay hacks. Claymore hacks. Not gonna work here anymore.
Not gonna work here anymore. So yeah, Elaine fucks this dude up with her pawn shop Claymore.
Almost as cool as a gas station katana.
Yeah, almost as cool as a gas station katana. Actually, I don't know, pawn shop Claymore versus...
I think the Claymore is going to win.
Yeah. And also Jack gets shot twice in the chest.
Jack gets fucked up a lot in this book.
Because, like, Elaine says something like, I was just waiting for him to get slightly distracted. You didn't have to charge him. I mean, he
had good reasoning, though. He knew, he had reasoned out that they weren't going to get out of here alive. So
yeah,
if
I understood his reasoning, however, he and also at the same time, he doesn't know that she is like very good sword fight lady.
Yeah, and has a sword.
Or that she has a sword, because he mentions like a poster tube in her bag or something like that.
Yeah.
So
then there's a little bit of epilogue where
Sue and her boss are at a fucking administrative meeting like a week or two later, and it turns out it's all going to be classified to hell and back. So no real censure or anything. It's just sort of what did we learn here? I don't fucking know.
Yeah. And Hackman doesn't die from the Claymore?
No, because the sword wasn't sharp, she just severely broke and damaged both of his arms.
Yeah.
She was, it says something about how he would have lost both of his arms had the sword been even slightly sharp.
Right.
Like, good move. All
right.
So
then the final epilogue is basically like some shadowy things setting up a payoff for Hackman.
I think it's it's in the format of a what are they called? 419 scams, Nigerian prince schemes.
Yeah.
For him to claim his 26 million euro, which is what he was owed from, but it's just an email.
So he gets away with the money after all.
Well, he goes to jail.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's the book.
So did he get paid? I thought it was implying that he was going to do a short jail time, get the money, but then like they might need him later or something.
Oh,
maybe I was wrong.
Yeah,
checked out.
You could be right. I took it to be that was sort of a joke at the very end, like, you know, he wasn't there to receive the email, so it doesn't matter anyway.
That's possible. maybe either interpretation is okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, book over. Do we have any final thoughts? I guess we got to rate it.
I really like this book, and I can totally see why you wouldn't. I think it's a very good. Like, number one, I really like Charles Stross as an author. I've read a ton of his books. He has a website, antipope.org, I think it is, that's been up since like 2000. And I've been on his, effectively his message board since then. Like I know him relatively well, and I think this is a very good book of his. He's got a bunch of cool series, not all in this space at all. And there's also there's a direct sequel to this book. Not a direct sequel, I guess. It's the same world as this book, but in terms of future crimes, it's 3D printing.
Oh, interesting.
Like, kind of 3D printing. How do we deal with that?
Yeah. Make plastic really super expensive.
Yeah.
As it turns out.
And then there was going to be a third one, but it got fucked in the ass by Brexit. And yeah.
Brexit definitely changed what this book would have been.
He's one of the handful of authors that I mentioned before that, like, he and I and the other authors tend to have for some reason, similar wavelengths. Like, that's a really interesting thing. What's going to happen with that? And then, I'm sitting there thinking that, and then 6 months later, a book comes out. I'm like, oh, that's the plot. Interesting. Like, we're on the same level of zeitgeist somehow.
Yeah. Speaking of nothing, I'm just that's segue didn't work.
Sure.
Let's rate this book. Here at High Tech Low Life, we have a 4-category scale with a 5th category for fun. So we rate the book on story, influence, prescience, and style. Story for Halting State. What do you think, Josh?
I like it, and these are a 1 through 10.
Yes.
I like it. I think it is a fun diversion into, like, structurally, this is exactly a fucking techno thriller. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a very clever version of it. Like, and I like it when people take a structure like this and do a clever version and then transplant it into something else. So I'm going to give this, like, I don't know, 8.5.
Okay. I just wasn't impressed. I just didn't find myself caring all that much.
Yeah, fair.
Not to say that there weren't aspects of it that I enjoyed, but when I'm reading books, I'm a character guy, and these characters just didn't do much for me. Like I said,
see that.
Jack did a little bit because he's supposed to be a gamer dude like myself. Got that tattooed on me, gamer dude.
Yeah, you do. I've seen it.
Yeah,
it's right under the dragon on your left bicep.
That is an actual tattoo I have.
Is that left or right? Left
if you're me, right if you're looking at me.
Okay.
But yeah, even he turned out to just be kind of boring in the end. So I don't know. I'm gonna go. You've got much more knowledge of, like, stories and how they work and books, but I'm gonna go 6.
Yeah, that's totally fair. We have entirely different contexts going into how we rate this, because I have read a billion goddamn techno thrillers.
Right.
I mean,
billion. That's a lot.
Yes, exactly 1 billion.
This is your 1 billionth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, it's not. It was, because I had read it before. I'm not counting rereads.
Oh, okay. Never mind. That's a lot then, if you're actually rereading some too. Anyway, this joke's gone on too long. Influence. Kind of a weird.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
We're always in this with newer properties.
Yeah.
Probably not much. I haven't heard.
Probably
anybody.
Not.
It's also pretty new. So.
It was nominated for the Hugo and Locus Awards.
Oh, that's something.
So that's something. I mean, I honestly don't know.
4?
5.
4.
Let's go 5.
I'll go 4. You go 5.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Prescience, I think, is in some ways pretty good, but in other ways not bad enough.
I think it's that's true. He did not effectively predict the COVID-19.
No, he didn't get Brexit. He didn't get honestly, with the exception of the problems outlined in the book, his version of the future seemed pretty nice.
It is and the thing is, it is extremely feasible. Like, nearly everything in this book could take place anytime between the year 2007 and, I don't know, February 2020. Mm-hmm. Like, this could have been published at any time between now and then, and you'd go, oh yeah, this seems like 10 years from now.
Yeah, you're right. This is a pre-2020 book.
Yeah.
Or at least a pre-2016, but
yeah,
definitely 2020.
Yeah. He's actually, there is some, I don't remember which show it is. There's an NPR interview with him where he talks about how deeply fucked up he got by Brexit.
Yeah.
Look, I was working in this near future shit and it just it threw everything, to the wind. I have no idea.
Everything. Yeah. Another thing that part of the point of view of this book that I didn't love was how, what's the word? A lot of cyberpunk is like anti-establishment, anti-authoritarian, and this seemed to the things the cops said seemed to be what the point of view they're presenting is the correct thing. The cops were right.
I can see how you'd read that.
The intelligence communities, I don't know. At one point he was talking about this country isn't some third world shithole, and it was, I don't know, it was just said in such a way where it was given that third world shitholes were shitholes and England or whatever is not.
I feel like
that could have been the character.
I feel like that was Michaels.
Yeah, it was Michaels that said
the intelligence service guy who, I mean, I don't know how,
but
the
there was
voice
no
came
reaction.
across.
There was no reaction from whoever was the POV character saying, because then they could have said, you feel like this is an inaccurate, but everybody's just like, yeah, you're right. They are third world shitholes. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Okay. It's not worth it. It bugged me. A lot of little things bugged me.
Fair. You hate Scots.
I do. So much.
The sequel to this book, by the way, was called Rule 34.
Oh.
So, fun times.
What? We don't have time to get into it. Prescience. So I'm gonna go. I think 7's pretty fair because it's pretty good.
I am honestly gonna go 8 for this because it does really point it's, even though it doesn't actually present sort of the plot and the techno issues until the sort of background stuff until the last quarter of the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very accurate. We've got a lot of the US has so much money invested in fucking cable and regular telephone lines and shit, and we are so far fucking behind in terms of delivering high-speed internet to everybody and all the bandwidth that humans need. And there's a bunch of that is very fucking realistic in this book. And 8.
Okay. Style, virtually none that I can discern.
The cover's pretty cool. I like it.
I don't think this cover counts.
Yeah. Beyond that, I have no idea. I don't know.
Even the games they're playing, they don't really. They just feel so.
They're very generic.
Yeah.
It's very much I mean, it's how I think of fucking those computer games. I mean, it's I don't know, fantasy shit. You're a fucking troll and you fly around on a griffin. I don't know.
Trolls do not fly around on griffins. You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's I literally have.
That's an alliance mount. Trolls are horde.
Okay, so what are the horde mounts?
Oh, there's so many. There's the trolls native ground mount is a raptor, of course. But
like a dinosaur?
Yeah, like a mini dinosaur. Then there's plenty of others. They can get a wolf, or there's this fucking.
What's like
bird.
the flying mount?
There's a lot of them. The Horde's default one is, I can't remember what it's called. I've got a plushie of one. It's like a lion with wings. I can't remember what it's called. Chimera.
Oh, that's a chimera. Yeah,
sort of. And then the Alliance do use griffins. So
okay.
All right. Style. I'm gonna give it the deuce.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's totally
That's
fair.
not what it was trying to do. I mean, I'm not. That's
it's not like. I don't know. I hate these fucking categories.
I know they're terrible, but we're gonna keep doing them.
Like, especially for a goddamn novel, like style. I don't know, dude. The font was fine. What do you want from me? I was able to program in my Kindle.
Come on,
like Calibri.
You fucking no. You gave Neuromancer a 10 on style, and it deserved it.
Yeah,
books can have style.
Yeah, they really can, but it's very hard to do something that's like 5 years in the future. 2.
I don't think it's wrong to give something it doesn't mean it's not bad. That was not its intention at all. So.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. I'm going to go 5 because I do think that the second person is interesting from a stylistic standpoint. Like, I don't know 100% that it worked.
Yeah, I would like.
But I do think that is like I want to give points for that.
I felt like that. Okay, I think you're right. I think it is. That does add to it, but I'm not going to change my just because I don't have room to scratch it out.
Sure,
but,
seems good.
One thing I think that does, and we do not have time to talk about it, but I feel like it makes it feel more video game related because if role playing games are played in second person.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what he's going for. Who fucking knows? 1 to 5 hand raisers. How much did you like it?
I really like this. I'm going to call it like 4. I mean,
I'm going to give it the deuce.
It's a big intersection of my interests.
Yeah.
Just FYI, and take this, kind of take it or leave it. The plot summary for the sequel, Rule 34, mentions that there are 3 primary points of view. Inspector Kavanaugh, who was Sue's boss in this.
Right.
She investigates spammers murdered in gruesome and inventive ways and learns about similar cases in other parts of Europe. Character 2, Anwar, a former identity thief who becomes a Scottish honorary consul for a fictional state in Central Asia. And the Toymaker, an enforcer and organizer for the criminal operation. Their interactions and conflicts drive the story.
Okay.
So I just thought, maybe the second and third characters might make you more interested in the second book.
Anwar and the Toymaker?
Yeah.
It definitely sounds more interesting than Jack and Sue.
Well, they're very much more on the punk end of the spectrum.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're done with Halting State. Next week, we have decided the gods have opened up the heavens and the lights shone down on a copy of Escape from L.A.
Yes.
We're going to cover Escape from L.A. Because we are running out of time. We're going to have to go on what I guess has kind of become our usual summer break.
Yeah. At the end of this month, I will depart for the barren wastes of the Chihuahua Desert, and I'll miss you all, and I love you, but I'm not going to drive like an hour and a half into good internet multiple times a week to record this fucking podcast.
Yeah, Josh is what we call a casual podcaster, a noob.
Yes, I am.
Cannot call you a noob.
No.
You've got a lot of hours under your belt.
Oh my God, so many. So many.
2 tonight. So
yeah.
We'll have more info on our schedule forthcoming, but probably here in about 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to have to take a break for a while. Okay, so yeah.
Escape from New York next week, directed by...
Escape from LA.
Yes, Escape from LA. The sequel to Escape from New York, directed by the wonderful John Carpenter. 1995? Question mark?
Something like that. And if all goes well, we will hopefully do a watch along for the money thing, Patreon.
Yes.
You can enjoy it with us.
It's currently available on Max and fucking Voodoo and I don't know what else. Just do a search. It's impossible to know these days.
So,
Blu-ray, DVD. I honestly don't know if that's ever come out on Blu-ray. It might not have.
I don't know. I hear it's bad. We'll find out.
It's got Pam Grier. It's got Steve Buscemi. I have seen it.
I've not.
A couple of times. It's Well, what do you want, man?
I like watching Kurt Russell, so I don't know how I could not enjoy it. We'll find out.
Bruce Campbell?
Yeah. You're talking my language. Anyway, we'll do that next week. Until then.
Oh, God. I didn't pull up any quotes.
It's not really.
Yeah.
Anything super quotable. You still got to go out saying something.
Let's see. Do I remember the lyrics to Making Plans for Nigel by XTC? No, I don't.
All right, we'll just say goodbye then.
Dear God, hope you get the letter and anyway, XTC. It's a good song. Dear God, go listen to it. Bye.
Bye.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving! Come on, what are you waiting on? Let's go!
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Everybody, hide the planet! Hide the planet!
Shut up and get in the car!